Hello, we are back on the Northside Bound YouTube page. Today we're continuing our breakdown of my top 40 prospects in the Chicago Cubs farm system. Our last video we covered prospects ranked number 31 through 40. That was a whole lot of fun. Go back and check that out if you're interested. You can also find my full ranking over at northsidebound.com. Right, guys ranked number 1 through 40. These videos the purpose of them is to kind of dig in a little deeper into these prospects. And today I'm really excited to cover prospects ranked number 21 through 30. We're going to start off at the top today, up at the highest level at number 30, with a guy that we're already very familiar with, even though he hasn't even made it yet to the upper levels of the minors, and that's Cole Franklin. He's a 30th ranked prospect in the system. And with a guy like Cole, we've seen the track record of him being really impressive, right? In 2019, he debuted as a 19-year-old, as a teenager in Low A South Bend, performed very well. And after that, the wheels kind of fell off to a certain degree, right? He missed the 2020 season because there was no minor league COVID season. Then in 2021, he missed the entire year because of injuries. And then in 2022, this past year, he really was struggling for quite some time. He was trying to get the feel for the mound back. If you go look at the stats, they're a lot uglier than what his performance on the mound really showed. The stats are kind of ugly, but there's a lot of innings that kind of got out of hand for Cole Franklin, right? The bad things just snowballed as the innings wore on, but the stuff was still very good with Cole Franklin. He's got a fastball that touches sits in the mid-90s and reaches up in the high 90s. He's got a curveball and changeup. I think that changeup is still really impressive, and I think that we're going to see a little incorporation of a slider this offseason. And if he can bring that 4-pitch mix up to Double-A, High A level next year, I think we're seeing that prospectum, that stardom really starting to shine again. I'm excited to see a full, healthy offseason, a full, healthy, full season next year up in High A and Double-A. I'm excited to see him climb up these lists, man. Him ranked at 30, it pained me to put him down there because I think there's a lot of potential for him to shoot up these lists and be a top 15 prospect yet again. All right, let's go to number 29. And with 29, it's Jeremiah Estrada. He's a guy that I kind of hinted at in the last video because I talked about Zach Lee. Relievers, they're hard to rank in the Cubs farms, in farm systems in general. I mentioned with Lee, he's got the fastball slider combination, and Jeremiah Estrada has that exact same combination, right? He's got a fastball that rises so well. It's a fastball that hitters think are coming right down the middle, but they then climb above the bat. They climb above their swing and just rises on them. It really takes off. And between that fastball, that might be one of the best pitches in the entire Cubs system, paired with a wipeout slider, he's really impressive. And Jeremiah Estrada, the reason why he gets the nod at reliever in my prospect rankings over Zach Lee is he's already done it. He already did it. He started in High A South Bend last year. He rose all the way to the Wrigley Field mound. I think in 2023, there's a good shot that we see Jeremiah Estrada closing down games for the Chicago Cubs. Next up is Jackson Ferris. He's my 28th ranked prospect in the Cubs system. And with Jackson Ferris, I'll be the first to admit, it's tough to rank him. There's a few guys on this list that are really tough to rank because I have yet to see them live. I want to see them live. I want to see them on MILB.com or MILB.tv. I think seeing that will really help guys climb up through this list. But Jackson Ferris, he was an overslot guy. The Cubs used their savings from Cade Horton in the first round in the 2020 draft to give more signing bonus money to Jackson Ferris in the second round. That goes a long ways, right? That shows how much confidence the Cubs have in Jackson Ferris as a prospect. I'm really excited to see what he does in 2023. We'll probably see him in extended spring training for quite some time. He might get a taste of the Myrtle Beach action later in the season, but don't expect him to get more than 10 starts in Myrtle Beach. I think that's setting unrealistic expectations on a teenager drafted out of high school. We could see him in Myrtle Beach, but it just won't be right away. Number 27, back to a guy we're a little bit more familiar with, Johendrick Pinango. He has one of the best bat-to-ball abilities of anybody in the Cubs farm system, and I love it. I love what Johendrick Pinango brings to the table. I was a lot higher on him entering 2022 season, but I think that what he did, his ability to go line to line, rivals anything that I've seen in the farm system since I've started covering this team. I think that in 2022, he tried to incorporate a little bit more power, and that was something that I wanted to see, right? I wanted to see him turning on more mistake pitches, turning on fastballs, turning on pitches that he was seeking out entering an at-bat. And I think we saw that a little bit more. He showcased the power, but that was at a little bit of juxtaposition in a bad way, right, with what he did on the contact skills. So if he can incorporate a little bit more of that newfound power with the contact skills that we know he already possesses, I think he can be a really dangerous hitter. He's not going to bring value by drawing walks and getting on base that way. So we need to see a batting average from Johendrick Pinango that pushes up towards 300 in order for him to be valuable. He's not going to bring a whole lot of value defensively. He's kind of stuck in left field. He can be an average left fielder potentially, but we're not going to see Pinango in center field or in right field. So that bat is where he's going to have to thrive. All right, moving up the list, we got another guy that I just need to see more of. 26th is Christopher Paciolla, another 22 draft pick. I have him ranked here because there's a lot of James Triantos vibes. It's different because James Triantos is already built out to a certain degree, especially for a high schooler. Paciolla is long and lanky. He's a shortstop right now. I expect him to move off of shortstop over to third base as he builds out his frame, as he adds more muscle. But that contact ability is already there out of high school for Paciolla, and as he gets stronger, I expect that power to increase as well. A lot to dream on with Christopher Paciolla. I'm excited to see him in Myrtle Beach later on in the 2023 season. All right, number 25, we got another guy that we are very familiar with in Chase Strumpf. He's been around for a long time, it feels like, but he's a completely different guy from when he was drafted. When he was drafted, he was a second baseman that played poor defensive second base, but had a really good hit tool, really good contact. Now he's a guy that plays some third base, plays some second base, does it pretty decently. I don't think he's a plus defender at either position, but I think he's a whole lot better than people give him credit for. But the bat, at the plate, is something where he has completely changed who he is. Once a contact-oriented guy, now he's a power-oriented guy. He's really showing off the ability, instead of only displaying pull-side power, he's spraying the ball with power across the entire diamond. And with that, the strikeouts have increased. So the power is up, but the strikeouts are now above 30% strikeout rate. That's really way too high, but he's a 3 true outcome guy. He walks a ton, 16%, around 60% walk rate. So those 3 true outcomes, if he can bring the strikeout rate down a little bit, sacrifice maybe a few more walks, but also hit for more contact, we're talking about a guy that could impact Chicago late in the 2023 campaign. All right, here's another guy, Luke Little, ranked number 24, a guy that I love. He is a guy that really shows those Braylon Marquez 2019 qualities. We talked a lot back in 2019 about how good Braylon Marquez was, coming out of the left side, throwing mid to high 90s heats, touching triple digits, having a wipeout slider, putting up really good numbers. That is exactly what Luke Little did this past year. Now, the reason why Braylon Marquez was the number 1 ranked player in the Cubs farm system back then, and Luke Little is all the way down here at number 24, is 2 reasons. The farm system is a lot deeper now than it was back then, but 2, we need to see a little bit more track record from Luke Little, right? He's only done this for 1 year, and he's only doing it in spurts of like 3 or 4 inning starts. If he can do that for 5 or 6 innings, or just be a lights out reliever, lights out multi-inning reliever, that might be what Luke Little is long term, and that's totally fine, especially given those skills that he possesses. 2023 is going to be a huge year for determining what type of pitcher Luke Little is. Is he that multi-inning guy? Is he a starter long term? It's going to be fun to see what he is. He's going to be up in South Bend and Tennessee probably this year in High A and in Double A. It's going to be a huge year for Luke Little. He could, if he ends up being a starting pitcher, the 24 ranking for him, way too low. All right, number 23 is a guy that I wish I didn't have to rank way down here. Ed Howard is a 23rd ranked prospect in the Cubs farm system. And really, my concern comes with the injury that he sustained in 2022. He had a really brutal hip injury. And I'm just not as familiar. You don't see hip injuries in baseball all that often. And I'm just worried about how he comes back in 2023 and beyond and really displays that athleticism. Where he has value is defensively, showing off that his nickname is Silk for a reason, right? Showing off that insane athletic ability over at shortstop where he is a plus defender. If he can come back from his hip injury and still be that plus defender over at shortstop, that goes a long way in his future in the big league radar, right? He really showcased his ability to improve with the bat early on in a very small sample size early on in 2022. He got that promotion from low A Myrtle Beach up to high A South Bend, even when we weren't really expecting that to happen. So if he can really continue to improve, and really the big thing is coming back from an injury that might be brutal and devastating in terms of his athleticism. If he can come back strong, this ranking at 23 is way too low because I really liked what I saw changes-wise with the bat in 2022. All right, now we're getting into some guys. This is kind of the next wave of guys that feel really good. I'm excited for the next video because at 2022, for the 22nd ranked player in the Cubs farm system is Luis Devers. Luis Devers is the reigning Cubs minor league pitcher of the year. He won that award in 2022. And to have him ranked down here at number 22 seems like a pretty low ranking, but there's still a lot to be seen with Luis Devers, right? He put up phenomenal numbers. Where Luis Devers thrives is two things. It's his ability, it's that pitchability, right? We always call it pitchability. It's kind of that undefinable stat. There's not a stat for pitchability, but his ability to kind of manage at bats, keep hitters off balance, really locate pitches wherever he wants them. That is his number one quality. Number two is a devastating changeup. I love good changeups, and Luis Devers has a phenomenal one. So that is where he's going to thrive. Where I want to see improvement when he reaches Double A, because that's likely where he's going to be, probably to start the 2023 campaign. If not, he'll start in High A South Bend and quickly get the promotion up to Double A. But what I want to see from him is an improved fastball. We need to see a few more ticks on that heater in order to really compete at the highest level. And then we really need to see that slider ironed out a little bit. It gets a little bit loopy. It's a little bit curveball-like at some points. But if it can be a true slider to go along with a 93-mile-an-hour fastball and still that devastating changeup, he's a legit prospect. We still need to see him do that in the upper levels of the minors. That's why I'm holding off for now. It can be pretty quick when he rises up through this prospect list if he proves he can do this at a higher level. All right, last guy we're talking about today is a guy, again, very familiar with. He was just added to the 40-man roster this offseason. Ryan Jensen is a guy that I am so excited to see what he has to offer in 2023. We've seen a lot of different versions of Ryan Jensen over the years, right? He was drafted as a guy that we might see converted immediately to the bullpen. He wasn't. He was worked as a starter. A long arm action where he featured a really impressive slider. Last year there's a lot of time spent with him on the development list, and the Cubs utilized that very, very well last year. What they did with him is they really altered his arm action. That long arm action was then converted to a much shorter arm action. We weren't talking like Lucas Giolito type up by his ear, but it was a much different arm action. Then after that, so he featured that last season. This offseason, he's shortened that arm action even more. And I think those changes could really, really help with his control and command, because that was a problem over the past few years, as his walk rate was way too high, and he was not commanding pitches in the zone very well. He was leaking pitches out over the middle of the plate, and those pitches were being punished over the wall many, many times. He's got a cutter. He's got a fastball that can touch triple digits. He's got that slider. I think he has and he featured a curveball this past year. He has all the tools in his toolbox to be a really strong starting pitcher. At least he can be a really good reliever. He's already on the 40-man roster. We probably see him start the year in Double-A Tennessee this year. He might get some run up in. It's likely he gets some run up in Triple-A Iowa. I doubt we see him in Chicago, but if he really performs well, I've always said that once a guy's on a 40-man roster and up in Double-A, we could see them at any point. So if the Cubs want to utilize him as a reliever, they could do that in Chicago. But really the big thing with Ryan Jensen this year is how will he be used? By them adding him to the 40-man roster, does that mean he's a reliever full-time now? I'm not sure. He's been a starter his entire career. I'm really excited to see where he's assigned to begin the 2023 campaign and his role. Is he a starter? Is he a reliever? Is he a piggybacker? What is Ryan Jensen? I would love to see him as a starter still long term, because I think that he still has that value there. I've been one of the highest guys. I've been one of the biggest believers in Ryan Jensen for the past few years, and I really want to see what he does in 2023. All right, guys, that is the full list for today, right? That's 21 through 30. Let me give a quick rundown of all the guys I mentioned today before I wrap up this video. Remember, I had at number 30 was Cole Franklin, at number 29 was Jeremiah Estrada, number 28 was Jackson Ferris, 27 was Johendrick Pinango, 26 was Christopher Paciolla, 25 was Chase Strumpf, number 24 was Luke Little, number 23 is Ed Howard, number 22 is minor league pitcher of the year Luis Devers, and number 21 is 40-man roster guy Ryan Jensen. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to check out the list, like I said, go to northsidebound.com. You can check out my full list 1 through 20 right now. all you got to do is go to the main page at northsidebound.com, click on the rankings tab, and click on Greg Huss's updated prospect rankings. They're right there. You can view all of them. But in the meantime, you can do that, and I will be back soon with more information, more detailed breakdowns of all these players. I'll be back with players ranked number 11 through 20 next week. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll be back soon.